The city lights sparkle like old memories, and a familiar love story begins to rise again stronger, older, and braver. For years, fans have waited to see what happened after the fairy tale ending. Now, the door finally opens to a new chapter, one filled with new dreams, new challenges, and the kind of love that refuses to fade. This is the moment where the past meets the future, and where Vivian and Edward step back into the world that once changed them forever. The story opens with Beverly Hills glowing under the warm sunset, the same city that once brought together two very different people. Time has passed, yet the memory of their first meeting still feels alive in every corner. Vivian has grown into a strong and confident woman who now runs her own charity foundation. She helps young women find new paths in life, the same kind of chance she once needed. Her days are filled with meetings, events, and smiles from people she lifts up. She has become a symbol of hope, and her name carries respect in every room she walks into. Edward, on the other hand, has stepped away from the stressful world of huge deals and non-stop business battles. He traded long boardroom hours for quieter mornings and simple routines. Still, beneath the calm surface, he carries a sense of curiosity, wondering whether leaving the business world behind was truly the right choice. Even though he enjoys the peace, a part of him misses the thrill of making decisions that could change everything. But more than anything, he wants to protect the life he built with Vivian, a life that feels precious and rare. Their love has grown deeper through the years. They laugh more, fight less, and understand each other in ways they never could before. Yet life has a way of surprising even the strongest couples. Vivian's charity has started attracting serious attention, and with that attention comes powerful people with powerful plans. Some want to support her. Others want to use her success for their own gain. Edward watches these changes with quiet concern, sensing that something big is about to unfold. Still, the couple moves through their days filled with warmth and trust. They attend events together, share dinner late at night, and talk about future dreams. Vivian focuses on expanding her foundation internationally, while Edward thinks about writing a book on what he has learned through his career. Everything seems peaceful, like a soft breeze before a storm. And though neither of them knows it yet, the choices they make next will test everything they have built, every lesson, every promise, and every piece of their shared heart. This is where their new journey begins, not with diamonds or hotel balconies, but with purpose, love, and a world waiting to challenge them once again. The first signs of trouble appear quietly, almost hidden beneath the busy rhythm of Vivian's growing foundation. It begins with a proposal from a large corporate group, an offer to partner with her charity. On the surface, it looks generous and impressive. They promise funding, global expansion, and access to resources that could lift thousands of lives. But behind the polished smiles and expensive suits, something feels off. Vivian senses it first, like a small whisper inside her mind telling her to pause. These people are smart, experienced, and used to getting what they want. And the more they talk, the more she realizes their vision doesn't match her heart. Edward notices the shift, even before she tells him everything. He sees it in the way she stares at documents late at night, the way she sighs during phone calls, and the way her smile fades just a little too quickly. He tries to help, to offer guidance, but he knows Vivian must make the choice herself. She built this world with her own hands. She earned every moment of respect she now commands, and he doesn't want to influence her decision with his old businessman instincts. Still, he can't shake the uneasy feeling tightening inside him. Days turn into weeks, and the pressure grows. News outlets start mentioning the possible partnership. Invitations from high-profile investors flood Vivian's inbox. Her team, excited by the idea of expansion, encourages her to consider the offer. They see potential. They see opportunity. But they don't see the strings attached, strings only a person who lived Vivian's past would recognize. She knows what it feels like to be controlled, to have her choices shaped by someone else's agenda. She refuses to repeat that life. Not now, not ever again. Meanwhile, Edward is pulled into his own storm. The same corporation making offers to Vivian reaches out to him privately, suggesting a return to the business world. They claim they need someone with his experience, his influence, his ability to make tough decisions. Old memories rise in Edward's mind rooms filled with negotiations, challenges that pushed him to his limits, victories that felt electric. A part of him misses it. Maybe more than he wants to admit, but he also remembers the man he used to be, the man who hid behind his work, who closed people out, who tried to control everything except his own heart. He doesn't want to become that version again, not when Vivian helped him rediscover who he truly was. Still, the invitation stirs something inside him. A spark he thought had faded long ago. As both of them face these changes, their worlds begin to drift just slightly, not enough to cause panic, but enough to feel the distance growing. They still love each other deeply, but life is pushing them in different directions, testing their connection in ways neither expected. Vivian becomes quieter, lost in thought. Edward becomes restless, unsure of his next step. Their conversations grow shorter, filled with half-finished sentences and questions left hanging in the air. The city around them keeps moving, cars rushing through bright streets, people chasing dreams, and the sound of Beverly Hills life echoing like a reminder that everything can change in a single moment. Vivian stands on the balcony one night, looking down at the glowing lights, wondering if she's strong enough to protect what she built. Edward watches her from inside, wondering if he's strong enough to protect her without losing himself. Little do they know, bigger challenges are headed their way. Challenges that will force them to confront their past, their fears, and the truth about what it really means to love someone, not just in the easy moments, but in the difficult ones where everything feels uncertain. The shift in their lives becomes impossible to ignore when the corporation suddenly changes its tone. What started as polite proposals now turns into constant reminders, urgent emails, and meetings scheduled without Vivian's approval. It feels less like an offer and more like pressure. Vivian tries to remain calm, to keep her dignity steady, but every new message feels like a hand trying to pull the foundation out of her control. She sits in her office one afternoon, staring at a contract thick enough to hide all kinds of traps. Her heart tightens, not from fear, but from frustration. She worked too hard to let someone reshape her mission for profit. Edward comes home later than usual these days, though he never meant for it to happen. The corporate offer to bring him back has awakened a storm inside him. At first, he simply listened. Then he started attending informal meetings. Soon, they offered him a role that sounds more like a challenge than a job, something he could rebuild, something only he could lead. Each time he talks to them, old instincts return. The sharp thinking, the rush of strategy, the thrill of feeling important in a room full of powerful people. He hates that he likes it. And he hates even more that he might be drifting away from the man Vivian helped him become. Their evenings begin to feel different. Vivian sits at the dining table with her laptop open, typing notes with a tense expression. Edward walks in with his jacket still on, his mind miles away. They still greet each other with warm eyes, but their conversations lose the spark that once wrapped them together. Vivian doesn't want to burden him with her worries. Edward doesn't want to distract her with his confusion. So both stay silent, hoping things will calm on their own, but silence only widens the gap. One night, Vivian attends a charity gala without Edward for the first time in years. She smiles for the cameras, shakes hands, laughs politely, but her thoughts wander. The event introduces a new public figure who claims to support her cause, a charming philanthropist with polished speeches and perfect timing. He praises her foundation, praises her vision, but his attention feels too sharp, too focused, as if he sees opportunity rather than compassion. Vivian remains polite, but something deep inside warns her that people who speak too smoothly usually hide something behind the shine. Edward, meanwhile, sits in a conference room high above the city, surrounded by people discussing numbers and plans that used to excite him. As he watches the swirling discussions, he feels a sense of control returning, a feeling that once ruled his entire life. But then he glances at his phone. A photo of Vivian on the lock screen makes him pause. The room keeps talking, but Edward hears only his own thoughts. Has he already slipped back into the life he once left behind? The distance between them finally becomes visible in small but painful ways. Vivian comes home late from the gala, expecting to find Edward waiting. Instead, the house is quiet, the lights dim, and a note sits on the table saying he had a late meeting. She feels a sting in her heart, not anger, but sadness. She wonders how they reached this point without noticing. Edward returns later that night and finds her asleep on the couch, documents scattered beside her. He sits quietly, watching her breathe, feeling the weight of guilt settle on his chest. He wants to wake her, apologize, explain everything. But he doesn't. He simply covers her with a blanket and whispers a promise he hopes he can keep, that he will not lose the woman who taught him how to love. As the days pass, the space between them grows, not through arguments or harsh words, but through unspoken fears and unshared truths. Both stand on the edge of decisions that could pull them closer or tear them apart. And even though neither of them knows what the future holds, they can both feel the storm gathering slowly, quietly, but powerfully, waiting to test everything they stand for. The storm finally breaks when the corporation makes its boldest move yet. Without warning, they announce publicly that Vivian's foundation is in talks to merge with their organization, something Vivian never agreed to. Overnight, headlines begin to spread across social media. People praise the move, critics question it, and her supporters demand answers. Vivian wakes up to hundreds of messages and calls, her heart pounding with disbelief. She feels betrayed, trapped, and pushed into a corner she never walked into. This isn't just pressure anymore, this is an attack on her independence. Edward hears the news from a colleague before he even gets home. His stomach twists as he realizes what this means, not just for Vivian, but for them. The corporation he had been meeting with is the same one trying to swallow Vivian's life's work. He rushes home, carrying a mix of guilt and urgency. But as soon as he sees Vivian, he knows words might not be enough. She stands in the living room with her phone in hand, her eyes filled with a quiet pain he hasn't seen in years. Their conversation starts soft, almost careful, like both are afraid of breaking something fragile. Edward explains what he knows, how he never agreed to any plan involving her charity. Vivian listens, but her thoughts race. The timing feels too connected, too deliberate. She begins to wonder if the corporation used Edward as a doorway into her world. She doesn't want to think it, but the doubt slips in like a shadow she can't shake off. The silence between them grows heavy, filled with questions neither knows how to ask. That night, Vivian makes a choice. She decides she won't let anyone take what she built, not the corporation, not the media, not the subtle threats hidden in polite language. She gathers her team, calls her board members, and prepares to fight back publicly. She plans a press conference to expose the truth. Her determination shines through her exhaustion. This is the woman who once fought her way out of the most difficult moments in life. That fire is still inside her, brighter than ever. Edward watches her prepare, feeling a mix of pride and fear. He wants to help, but he also knows he might be part of the reason this happened. The next day, he goes back to the corporation's office, not for a meeting, but for a confrontation. He walks in with the steady calm he once mastered, but this time, there is something sharper in his steps. He demands answers. He demands respect for Vivian. And for the first time in a long time, he feels a sense of purpose not tied to money or power, but to protecting the woman he loves. The corporate executives try to talk their way through excuses and explanations, but Edward sees right through them. They wanted control, not partnership. They wanted influence, not collaboration. He leaves the building with a final decision: he won't work with them. Not now, not ever. And with that decision, a part of his old world closes forever. At the press conference, Vivian stands in front of a sea of cameras. Flashing lights hit her face, but she remains steady. She speaks with clarity and strength, telling the truth about the false claims, the pressure, and the attempts to control her foundation. Her words echo across the room, reaching people far beyond Beverly Hills. She reminds everyone that her charity was built to give people freedom, not to lose hers. The crowd listens in absolute silence, then erupts into applause. Edward stands in the back, watching her with a pride so strong it warms his entire chest. In that moment, he realizes something powerful. Vivian doesn't just inspire others. She inspires him too. She always has. When the conference ends, they meet outside, away from the noise. No speeches, no cameras, just the two of them. Vivian admits she felt scared of losing everything, including him. Edward admits he felt lost between who he was and who he wants to be. But as they stand there, the chaos of the past weeks feels distant. Their hands find each other like they always have, naturally. Without effort and for the first time in a long while. They feel the same thing at the same moment. The world may challenge them, try to shake them, and push them in different directions. But the bond between them is stronger than any storm. This is not the end of their story. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one built on truth, courage, and a love that refuses to fade, no matter how hard the world tries.